Hello my darlings, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Miranda and I am the Enchantress of Avalon. So today's video is a really fun one. We are just going to be talking mermaids and nostalgia. With the summer at its peak and the sun shining above, it really makes me want to go to the beach and let's play mermaids. So the video version of that is, in lieu of actually being able to go to the beach and record, which I don't have the ability to do right now, we're going to talk about nostalgic mermaid media. Okay. Now, I love mermaids and I work with mermaids all year long in my practice. It's not just a summer energy for me, but considering most people associate mermaids with summer, I like to do it up extra big in the summer. That is why I'm currently teaching the first round of my brand new online class, Lessons from Celtic Mermaids, which is a short 7-week-long class where we're deep diving into different mermaids from Celtic folklore each week. And I will see if I want to launch that next summer as well. This is the first round and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, if you are interested in some more mermaidy goodness from me though, I do offer mermaid channeled readings on my website, whiteroseofavalon.life. It's in the shop page, so that'll be linked down in the description box as always. And I also share a lot of mermaidy content, especially during the summer, over on my Patreon, Avalonian Rose Fairy Mysteries, which is always also linked down below. Now, without further ado, let's get into some really fun mermaid nostalgia and nostalgic media. So obviously the first one, Little Mermaid, it has to be, right? It's the iconic film from pretty much everyone's childhood. If you were born from the late 80s onward, this is a 1989 film, you probably think of this as part of your childhood. Certainly part of my childhood. And yeah, I adore it. I still do rewatch it. Obviously, I do have it on Blu-ray here. It's the Diamond Edition from, what, 10 years ago or something? In any case, it's iconic and it is based on the Hans Christian Andersen Little Mermaid story. And that story is actually much darker and much sadder than what we get in Disney. Disney obviously sanitized some stuff and had to make it a happy ending. It does not end happily in the original, but I would also highly recommend reading the original story. It's beautiful and haunting and quite tragic, but there's a little bit of hope at the end, just a little bit. I actually do have a video from, I think it was last year, where I read the entirety of The Little Mermaid. It's like a 40-something, almost 50-minute long video because it's a long story. For a fairy tale, it's rather long. So if you're interested in hearing me read the story, you could check that out on my channel and I'll try to remember to link it for you too and put it up in the cards so that you could find it easier. In any case, there are also 2 pieces of mermaid media that are turning 20 years old this year, or just turned 20 years old, I should say. The first, of course, being Aquamarine, which is based on an Alice Hoffman novel. The Alice Hoffman novel was published, I think, in the 90s. I know I read it in the very early 2000s. I read it when I was in elementary school, so loved it and was super excited when I was getting adapted into a movie. And it's adorable. This movie turned 20, I think it premiered in March, so it's a few months ago now, but it's crazy to me that this movie is 20 years old. And I still have my old DVD from back in the day. Never upgraded and never decided to get rid of it because I do collect physical media, so I don't get rid of things unless it's something I'll never watch again. And stuff like this, sometimes worth it for the old school special features too. What does this have? It has auditions featurette. It has a fashion featurette for early 2000s fashion. So fun. An on-set featurette, and scene-specific cast commentary track, and then a director commentary. Yeah, it's adorable. Of course, both of those two, and as well as the next one, you can easily access and watch on Disney Plus if you don't have the physical media copies. Also, oh, I didn't say it, but the Little Mermaid also has an early 90s animated television show that came out, I think it was like 91 or 92 it was on, and you can watch that on Disney Plus. They do have it, and I do watch it. It is so adorable, and it reminds me of my toddler years into like really early elementary school when I was mildly obsessed with that show as well as with obviously the movie. It's adorable. It's all like pre the story of the movie, so we get all the mermaidy goodness of Ariel and Flounder and Sebastian going on adventures. So cute, so fun. Oh, the next movie is also on Disney Plus, which is Splash. But before I talk about Splash, I want to talk about the other piece of Mermaid Media that just turned 20 years old, literally like the week before this goes live, was the 20th anniversary of H2O, Just Add Water. Crazy. And I know a lot of us who are mermaid obsessives absolutely adored that show when it was on. Still watch it. I still rewatch it. I believe it's currently still streaming on Prime in the US. That's where I was watching it most recently. But it's bopped around to different streaming services over the years. Side note, I apologize if you can hear running in the background. My cat currently has the zoomies and is running all over the place. Sorry about that. In any case, I've always loved H2O. So it's really mind-boggling that both Aquamarine and H2O are having their 20-year anniversaries. Just crazy, but really fun, really entertaining. And if you want nostalgia, and also just the nostalgia of the early 2000s, the nostalgia of the fashion of the early 2000s, because both of those, both Aquamarine and H2O, just have so much of that early 2000s fashion. The stuff that I was wearing in junior high and high school is all over it. And it's quite a trip down memory lane. And all of that stuff is also coming back into style now because, you know, fashion trends, they cycle approximately 20-year cycles. So, of course, here it is. It's all back. The good and the bad. Although, you know, I will say that the stuff that they're bringing back, they are being a lot kinder to the younger generation with things like built-in shorts. I know that all of those like super short skirts now have built-in shorts underneath them. We didn't have those back in the day, but you'll have this. In any case, though, moving on from the 2000s and back to the 80s, Splash. I love this movie so much. One of my all-time favorite mermaid films ever. I grew up watching this. I watched this possibly almost as much as I watched The Little Mermaid when I was a kid. But this one, way better love story. The Little Mermaid was never supposed to be a love story. Let's be clear. Eric is not great. I hate Eric, actually. He's one of my least favorite Disney princes, but in one of my favorite Disney films. How does this happen? Well, it's because the character he's based upon in the original fairy tale is terrible. He literally, in the original fairy tale, treats the Little Mermaid like a dog, like an animal. He thinks of her as a cute little pet. It's horrific. We're supposed to root for him in the Disney version, but they don't change him enough where I can root for him, so yeah, issues. In any case, Splash fixes that. In Splash, we have this adorable story of a mermaid coming out from the sea and meeting Tom Hanks's character, whose name is Alan. And she has a name that's basically unpronounceable English or any human language. It's mostly dolphin and whale sounds. So she names herself Madison after the street in New York City, even though that wasn't a name back then. It is now a name. Many young girls have been named after the character in this movie since then, but it wasn't a name at the time. She made it a name, which is kind of cool. In any case, after saving him, very a la Little Mermaid, she saves him actually twice. The first time she was gonna have him stay in the water with her when they were children, but then he got pulled back onto the boat. The second time she saves him, brings him back onto the water because he can't swim. He never learned how after that incident when he was a kid. Well, it all starts it, and she has his wallet, she has his ID, and is able to find him and is able to get legs for a while, long enough for them to meet and fall in love and have this really sweet little romance before she's discovered. But the brilliance of Splash is that it's not mermaid stays on land for mortal man, which is what Disney sold us, right? No, it's mermaid brings mortal man into her aquatic abode and lets him live with her, which, yes, thank you. I'd much rather have that be the ending. And again, why would you want to be on land when you have all of the sea at your disposal? Then, of course, the last thing I actually have physically that I'm going to talk about, well, I have some of the other stuff physically, but part of like sets, so I'm not going to bring it out. Then I'm going to talk about some stuff I don't have on physical, but I will note where they stream in the US if you're interested. So this says Mermaid Double Feature. These are two British mermaid films, one from the late 40s, one from the early 50s. Well, early mid 50s. I think it's 54. The second one, yes. So 1948 and 1954. They are titled Miranda and Mad About Men. And no, I don't love the film Miranda just because it's my name. I actually really love that I share a name with a really fun mermaid character. She's flirty, she's fun, she gets caught by a fisherman and then asks him to bring her onto land for a while because she wants to flirt and have fun. She pretends that she is an invalid and she's in a wheelchair the whole time because she obviously can't walk because she has a tail. It's adorable. And then in the second film, she swaps places with a lookalike relative, and she gets to, because she's swapped bodies, gets to walk around on legs in that movie. Absolutely adorable, very fun, very much the fun, flirty mermaid type of story. And there's a lot of ties to the Cornish Merry Maids, down to the character of Miranda and her cousin in this, and her cousin also in the second film, being descendants of Matthew Trewalla. And Matthew Trewalla is part of the story of the Mermaid of Zenor, which is a very famous Cornish mermaid story. And it's one that I teach about. When we talk about the Cornish Merry Maids, that is the one that I really focus on in my Lessons from Celtic Mermaids class. It's a beautiful story, and I love that it's tied directly in with these films because it's fitting. It's very fitting. Now, moving on to other pieces of mermaid media you can revisit for nostalgia, or maybe visit for the first time if you have not seen them yet. Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid is another 1940s mermaid film. This one's an American film though. And I want to say it was also 1948. I think it was the same year as Miranda. They were released the same year, I believe. But Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid, again, is an American film instead of a British one. And it's really adorable. It's starring William Powell. I've always been a big fan of William Powell, so I do love that he was in a mermaid film. But the one thing this mermaid film does that makes me kind of sad is the mermaid doesn't talk. She doesn't talk. She's expressive and everything, but she doesn't actually talk. And basically, in the story, Mr. Peabody, the titular character, finds this mermaid when he's on vacation, and he becomes very enchanted by her. He doesn't know her name, so he has to give her a name, and it's very wholesome and sweet, but again, it has this air of, oh, but she can't communicate. And I understand that that's probably largely inspired by the Hans Christian Andersen Little Mermaid story, where obviously she doesn't have a voice. But this mermaid isn't pretending to be human. She's not on land to, try and marry a prince. She just happens to have met this middle-aged man who is, it seems like, going through a bit of a midlife crisis. That's kind of the vibe you get. Like, he's having trouble with his marriage, he's bored with life, and then he meets this mermaid, gets revitalized. I would love for there to be more, but at the same time, given the era the film was made, and given what was largely probably inspirational, which would be the Hans Christian Andersen tale, I'm not surprised she doesn't get to talk. But still an adorable film, especially if you love old Hollywood, love classic films, love black and white films. I highly recommend watching it. And also, there are some really funny photos of Frankenstein holding the mermaid up, because they were on the same lot at the time. So the actress playing the mermaid was held up by an actor dressed up as Frankenstein. In one of the sequel films, I do not know which one it would have been, or even which Frankenstein this would have been, but I've seen the photos. Very cool, very fun, and iconic because of this weird mashup of Frankenstein holding a mermaid. Other than that, then my favorite mermaid horror film is a film called The Lure from 2015. It is a Polish mermaid musical horror film, and it is largely inspired by Hans Christian Andersen's original Little Mermaid story. It is the story of two mermaids. Instead of one, it's two sisters who come up onto the shore and start performing in this band at this nightclub. So they don't lose their voices. There are other things that they lose. They can just walk on land at their own choice, but if they get wet, their mermaid tails pop out, which is something we see in the rules of like H2O just said water. We know that Madison in Splash has to wet her tail each night, and her tail pops out when it gets wet. Same thing with Aquamarine. If she gets wet, her tail pops out. Well, we have that same kind of thing as if they get wet, their tails will pop out. But it's much darker, much more twisted, and I do like the way they handle the relationship between one of the sisters and one of the musicians, who is our prince stand-in from the original Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. He is made out to be truly unlikable in every way, shape, and form. And there's literally a scene where he tells her that he views her as a fish, as an animal, not as a person, which reflects the way the Little Mermaid is literally treated in the original Andersen tale. But yeah, everything you want out of this is there, along with body horror, blood, and violence. It's really quite something. So yeah, I highly recommend that one. Just trying to see what else. Oh, and then the final thing that I do have, I'm not going to bring it out because it's just a box set, is Charmed, which is the season 5 premiere of the original version of Charmed, the 1998 series. In the 5th season, the very first episode is a 2-part episode, and if you watch it on physical media, it just plays like a mini movie. Not really a mini movie, it's like an hour and 20 minutes, almost an hour and a half. So basically like a movie. And it is the episode with the mermaid. And I believe the title is A Witch's Tale. And in that episode, they meet a mermaid, and she has been, trying to find love because she wants to experience that, because it doesn't really exist under the sea. It's very lonely in the sea. It's very cold in the sea. So we have the sisters tackling this, and we got to defeat an evil sea hag. And then, of course, one of them has to turn to a mermaid, which is Phoebe. And Phoebe turns into a mermaid and decides she doesn't want to come out of the sea. It's adorable. It's fun. I do enjoy watching that as just a mini movie. I will sometimes just put it on. I think it's a great summertime watch because we get all of this nautical imagery. Very enjoyable, and I do highly recommend that. If you wanted something lighthearted and still in the fantasy vein, but didn't want to watch like a whole TV show like H2O or even the H2O sequel series, Mako Mermaids, I do like that series. It's not as good as the original, but I don't have any problems with it really. I know some people really hate it. I still think it's fun. You're giving me more mermaid entertainment in the same universe. I'm happy. Yeah. So basically, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I do hope you've enjoyed this little mermaidy trip down memory lane and sharing some nostalgic mermaid pics to watch, to read, because obviously you can read the original Hans Christian Andersen tale. You can read Aquamarine by Alice Hoffman. I remember loving that book as a kid. I've not reread it probably since right around when the movie was coming out. I think I reread it before the movie came out, but I remember very much enjoying it. It's a very cute book. It's very short. I think it's like not even 200 pages. So if you want a good little beach read, I do also recommend that. And yeah, let me know your favorite piece of nostalgic mermaid media in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.